McCants and Hope McCants and our leadership team. We hope and we are prayerful that you all are doing very well. We know that we are facing uncertain times. Many of us are aware that we are globally experiencing a pandemic that has affected families all over the world. Coronavirus, also known as COVID-19. And while these are uncertain times, it is imperative for us to remember that God is our refuge. God is our strong tower. We can go to the Lord for our help and our strength. And our church family, you are in our prayers, and we are praying for one another. And in these uncertain times, you will face many emotions. And those emotions are natural to have. But I strongly encourage you all to remember to go to God in prayer and honor your emotions. Speak to God about what you're feeling, and to have the trust and the peace that is ours in our relationship with the Creator. And in taking care of ourselves, we want to make sure that we are practicing social distancing, good hand washing hygiene, and taking good care of ourselves. And I want to start out with saying that self-care is not being selfish. Self-care is deliberate, it is intentional, it is where we cultivate good care to ourselves. In fact, there's a quote I read earlier yesterday that said, self-care is being a good friend to ourselves. So being a good friend to oneself, that's good self-care. Self-care cultivates good, healthy care to ourselves. So it's very important during this time, and not just this time, but moving forward, if you're not already practicing good self-care. So remember, self-care is not selfish. Self-care is the care and cultivation of self. And self-care can be generally defined as being a good friend to yourself. Self-care strengthens you. Self-care can be any activity that is done, remember what I said, intentionally and deliberately. In fact, with good self-care and activities, put them as a reminder on your calendar. Make sure you are putting your self-care as a priority and putting it on your calendar, in your memos on your phone, as a reminder to do good self-care. Self-care is something that refuels us rather than takes away from us. And that's a quote by Agnes Warman. I'm going to repeat that. I thought that was very powerful. Self-care is something that refuels us rather than takes from us. So I want to share with you a few activities about self-care, things that we can do to take good care of ourselves and offering good self-care. I want to read this list out because it's very important. Self-care will manifest its way in such activities. Going to therapy. We'll talk about that in another time that we spend together. Going to therapy, meditation, quiet time, prayer, having your prayer time with God, exercising, accepting ownership of your finances, eating the right foods, eating healthy, eating regular meals and not always snacking, drinking plenty of water, going to sleep when you are tired, keeping healthy boundaries, seeking medical care for physical ailments. And right now, while we are dealing with COVID-19, we need to be very mindful of making sure that we're taking good care of ourselves, monitoring how we're feeling, making sure good hand hygiene. If you're sneezing, sneeze into a tissue and discard it. So remember, those are wonderful ways to take good care of ourselves, taking good care of yourself. Confronting difficult conversations with thoughtfulness and maturity. Self-care is not being selfish. It is important, East Point Church family, to offer good self-care. And if you're not doing that, I encourage you to do that now. It is important to offer good self-care, taking good care of yourself. Jesus is an example of offering self-care to himself. Jesus often retreated and went to be alone up into the mountains to pray. You know, he wasn't always with the disciples. He would send the disciples ahead of ministry and often retreat to be alone, to have quiet time and to pray. And so Jesus is a perfect example in how and why we should offer good self-care to ourselves. And when you get the opportunity, I hope that you will read these scriptures. Mark chapter 1, verse 35. Mark chapter 6, 45 through 46. And Mark chapter 14, verse 32. These are examples where we see that Jesus stepped away. Jesus retreated and got to a place of being alone where he could be quiet and commune with the Father, with his Father, with God. And so it is very important for us to offer self-care. We will be praying for you, East Point Church of the Nazarene family. Take good care of yourselves. Remember, self-care is not being selfish. When you offer good self-care to yourselves, then you can be a better person, a better self, and take good care of others around you. Thank you.